It's confession time again. Despite having owned this snare drum for probably 15 or 16 years, I actually can't remember that much about it in terms of the specs or anything like that. I got this actually as a sort of a trade for a DW. It was a DW 14x4, which I got off someone I sort of casually knew, and then didn't really care for it, so I traded it. As you'll have seen, it is a Leedy Ludwig NewEra, and before the purists say, yes, I know they're not the correct hoops. This came to me with triple flanged hoops on it, and they're 2.3mm triple flanged hoops. I don't really use this drum an awful lot, but I kind of keep it around because it does have a bit of a vibe to it, and I think that's partly to do with the way I have it set up as well. So I'll give you the specs first of all. So as I said, it's a Leedy Ludwig 14x4 NewEra snare, and there you go. There you go. So you can sort of get an idea. That's got that badge on it. It is a very yellowed, despite the fact actually that what I'm looking at now with the light on it, it looks a lot less yellowed, but it is quite yellowed white marine pearl. It's got the 8 sort of double lugs there. You've got the I don't know what the model number is for that strainer. I do apologise, the lighting in here is terrible. Oh yeah, so the sort of butt plate there. Now the thing with this strainer, which I've always had a bit of an issue with, I mean, it works just fine. I mean, it goes up, it goes down. It's one of those ones that's kind of sort of seems to work its way loose when I play, so I think that's part of the reason why I don't actually use the drum very often. But as I said, it does have a vibe to it. Internal muffler, there you go, internal muffler, which, to be honest, again, stiff as a bloody board, but it does work. It's just, yeah, as I said, I've barely touched this, as denoted actually by the amount of dust that's in the bottom head. Oh, I couldn't make this up. So I've got a standard coated ambassador on the top. Now, I know, I don't remember when I did it, but I've got an Premier, this is a very old, Premier Everplay snare head on there. And I seem to remember putting this head on there a long time ago, at least a decade ago. Simply because that was the only head that I could get to sort of fit and sound half decent on the drum. I remember playing around with it and couldn't really get anything that I liked. I put this head on it, and this head must be from the 80s at least. I mean, there's the logo on the head, so you can get an idea if anyone wants to date that. But it's an old head, and I think I got it off, probably turned up with the drum that I bought at some point. But the snare wires on here are, I want to say they're pearl. There's no markings actually on them, but I want to say that they're pearl. And I remember buying them, and I think they are, I cannot for the life of me remember the model or anything like that, but I seem to remember, as actually you'll hear in a minute, that they are they're sort of designed to make the drum sound like it's got gut snares on it. It's just the way they're set up. They've kind of got that sort of the feel to them and the sound to them. So it's not your traditional. Well, as you can see there, okay, you can catch that if it then decides to focus again. There you go. So you can see that they're not actually wires as such. They are in fact, it's metal coated with something or other, and they do have a very dry sound, as you'll hear. Oh, the drum actually is dated, and it's dated January. Actually, it's 0154, so January 1954. Not really. I mean, I know someone that had a particular fondness for these drums. He had a bunch of them. I don't know if he still does, but it's got a very sort of vintage. It's got a very vintage bearing edge and snare bed. I mean, I don't think you can see. There you go. So the snare bed's kind of about there to there. So obviously up here as well. And then you've got the very vintage sort of rounded bearing edge there, obviously with a re-ring on top and bottom as well. I'm gonna. Oh, and it's got obviously the white painted interior as well. I mean, it's not mint condition or anything like that. In fact, there's a little tiny bit of a. I don't know if you'd call that a crack, rather maybe a split in the re-ring there. But I mean, the shell's physically in good condition. I mean, the wrap's yellowed a little bit, but you know, it's all still there. I've only done one. I've done one run through on this. I've not done different tensionings because, to be honest, for me, this is set up really to do one thing, and it's kind of sort of high pitched and ringy, but very dry as well. And you know, I think for me, I keep this drum around because it has a vibe to it, and that's quite important. And if a drum makes you feel a certain way, it'll make you play a certain way. If you obviously use it in the right musical context as well, then it'll be perfect for that song. And that's kind of the reason why I keep this one around. As I said, it's not something I use very often. I probably dig it out every maybe once or twice every few years and sort of play on it and then enjoy it, and then it goes back on the rack. And you know, it's the only Leedy and Ludwig that I've got, you know, as I said, it is what it is, and what it is this. Thanks for watching.